Ingy's mind.
So I've been getting my internet at home through this for the last 5 years, but through a series of things, I switched over from T-Mobile to AT&T, and then they said they were going to throttle it, and they didn't throttle it the first 2 months, and then they started throttling it hardcore. So, and then at the same time, a couple of months ago, a friend told me about the Calyx Institute. Anybody heard of that? Oh, I'll show you. It's they got this little Cory Doctorow blurb up top, but basically they're a nonprofit that does internet privacy and security research, I think. And if you make a $500 donation to them, they give you a Sprint hotspot that's completely unlimited. And so 100 is for this thing, which only really costs $50 anywhere else. And then 400 ongoing for the year of service. So
it's annual.
Yeah, and it's actually 30 gigabytes per month, but after that it's infinite. So after the first 30, it's infinite. Yeah. But I want to see how I want to I'm only used 5 of 30 so far. I've only had it for like a week, but.
You want me to start cranking on it?
Yeah, crank on it, please. Yeah, that's the deal. So for you people out in the audience, I'm going to keep this password and thing. So if you're ever within range of me, feel free to jump on it too.
If you're ever in the right part of Seattle.
I was just does anybody recall Too Many Secrets?
That's from Sneakers.
C-Tech Astronomy, yeah.
Yeah, the Sneakers.
So I just saw it again. It's my friend's favorite movie, and he came over and we watched it on I had it on VHS. I have about 700 VHSs. I actually have the walls of my hallway are lined with VHS. You've seen it. And so he asked me if I had sneakers, and I looked at my little phone Google spreadsheet that I made up, and I'm like, yep, got it. So it took us a while to find it.
Yes, how long did it take to find?
But yeah.
Robert Redford in there?
Yeah, and Dan Aykroyd and
It's been a long time
Sidney
since I've seen
Poitier and.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
You got the crazy mathematician up there all excited.
So in his password, my friend Aaron, who came over to see it, has been Too Many Secrets on his thing. So I didn't want to be the same, so I made it E Too Many Secrets. So, all right, I'm going to, apologies in advance for it's personal strife in my life this week. So not that I would have done any more preparation, but I might be a little out of it mentally, but I'm going to try to overcome that and tell you about what I've been doing for the last couple of months. Well, let's start off. A couple of months ago, I got laid off from HP, which was awesome, and which means I've been able to get to work on my own stuff for the last 2 months until I decided to take some more work. It's been good times, and I have a friend in Berlin. Her Perl ID, her PAWS ID is Tanita. So her name's Tina Mueller. I met her a couple years ago at a Perl QA hackathon that she was the main organizer of. And we've been like online pair buddies ever since. So we spend about 4 hours a day, on a typical day, pair programming. Kind of like when she gets off of work, it's usually around from 10 in the morning to 2 my time, which is around like 8 to midnight her time or something like that. But that's the way it works out. But you're going to see a lot of her code tonight and some of my code as well. Let's start with some Perl. So for the last 2 weeks, we started cranking on this. We were working on all this YAML stuff. So I'm one of the creators of the YAML. I don't know if everybody knows that, but and we've been working on YAML stuff for Perl and beyond. And one cool thing was libyaml, which is the C library that most languages bind to. YAML XS and Perl is the binding to that, which I wrote the binding. And the author of that, he's a genius, but he hasn't been interested in it in over 10 years since he wrote it. He's like just done major security fixes and patches and that kind of thing. But beyond that, he's, I think he, like all of us, in the back of his brain, he had a 2.0 idea, but never really the time to do it. He's been doing other interesting stuff with one of the other creators of YAML, Clark Evans. Those guys have been working on some database stuff that I think they're going to announce this year. Anyway, a guy from Python named Ian Cordasco, he noticed that nobody was maintaining this, and since I got to know him, a lot of Python people, he must be a pretty popular Python dude, but anyway, or pretty active. He wanted to take it over, so he wrote the YAML people, and I said I'd like to join him, and so we've been teaming up on taking ownership of libyaml, and also he does the PyYAML as well. And then at some point this year, I started making a YAML test suite. And then this guy who works on NIM YAML, which is, there's a programming language called NIM from Germany, and this kid's a German kid as well. He wrote the NIM YAML framework, and he started using this test framework. And then he added, he quadrupled the size of it. And now we have several projects that are testing against it, and I'll show that tonight. But the cool thing, in the last 2 weeks, Tina and I started working on this editor, mostly for editing the test suite, but also for kind of showing off some stuff. So I'm just going to run the YAML editor, and we'll see this a lot tonight. But we'll do let's try this first. I think that'll work. Okay, so it gave us some little sample YAML here, and then I hit the space bar. So we got YAML tiny, YAML sick, YAML PM, and YAML XS. And they all load this YAML the same, so that's good. Let's see. So I'll use the \c command there, and then I'll \= equals to make them the same. Let's try foo42. One of these things is not like the others, so. But this is, in Perl, that actually makes sense. That's not a bad thing per se. That's because the XS stuff can tell that it's a storage integer. And the other frameworks, well, actually, the sick one is written in C2. I don't know why it didn't decide to load 42 as an integer rather than a string. Let's actually quit this. And so I'll show YAML editor -h. So let's use the -l flag. So this is a list of the things that we can visualize YAML in real time. And Tina and I actually put some cool hacks in today. So what I want to do now is I'll say YAML editor. Let's alias this to Yi, because I'm not a very good typer. Okay. There we go. That's nicer. So let's grab the Perl ones, but we'll do one cool little trick here. Before I used a regex that matched them, so we'll put the pure Perl ones on the top.
Can you explain that output from -l? It's kind of.
Oh yeah, I just made it up. So
Okay.
the thing on the left is the ID that you have to use of the view. The thing in the middle is saying what language and framework it is, and the thing on the end is what it's going to output the input as. And there's a lot of different. It's easy to add new ones, but like the libyaml can't really output JSON unless I wrote some C to write JSON or something like that. Yeah. So let's look at, and then we'll grab the excess one and the sick. So the slash, we'll put the first two on the top and the next two on the bottom. Hopefully. Okay. Okay, so now let's see if we can break this a little bit. Darn it. I'm SSH to the German machine, and Scott's probably killing all my bandwidth, so.
Oh, I am, definitely. Do you want me to stop?
Are you?
I am.
Oh, yeah, maybe you should.
I'll stop. All right, should be back.
So the YAML editor works on the Mac and on Linux, and this remote Linux box is pretty, let's see if that, oh yeah, that cleared up the issue. Thanks, Scott. You've got to be careful what you ask for in a group of Perl mongers. Okay, so now we got YAML PM can't load that. It should be able to load this. Okay, so let's so YAML tiny could load one thing, but it can't load both of those. Let's see if we can. Oh, YAML PM can't load that either. Let's see if we. Okay. So I don't know how many people use YAML a little bit. Basically, these are the dashes do array elements, list them, and if you have an array of arrays, so like let's say this is a hash that has a key of foo. Probably be better if we had a JSON thing up there for non-YAML people. So this is the same as saying. Can in YAML use less quotes. You can use the quotes if you want. Tiny's still not getting that right at all. It just thinks everything's a string. We could add that to the list of things we might want to co-hack on that, because at some point we're going to fix a YAML bug in this talk, and but not quite there yet. Well,
That's YAML tiny. Is that that's the
mm-hmm. Let's see. I should know some culprits off the top of my head. So, this is an interesting one. Foo. So this is an array, but it has a key pair, key value pair inside. And in YAML, you can do that. And so the two XS ones got it right, and the pure Perl ones got it wrong. This is kind of interesting. So I don't know who uses Ansible a little bit, right? So they have this syntax where you can do stuff like this, and that's really a templating syntax. So it just means find the foobar variable and put it in there.
handlebars.
Right. But unfortunately, it's also valid YAML. So like, if it doesn't get preprocessed, it's so in YAML you can have foo : bar like that, but you can also just leave off the thing, and then you're going to get foo undef. But you can also just leave off the things altogether. You can, like, that's just going to be a key of foo and a key of bar with values of undef. As you can see, so it just looks between the curly things and says, okay, I'm going to take the first full unit, and that's going to be the key, and the next full unit, and that's going to be the value. So if I have so the first thing in the outer one is another hash, so that's going to be the key of that hash, and then within this, there's no pair, but the first thing is the key of that. But since it's Perl, you just see the serialization of the hash thing. Anyway, YAML really needs a templating language that works, and I haven't seen anybody actually do that yet. And they usually cause security problems too. It's kind of sad. All right, so
The Modulicious project just did one for JSON that you might look at, like in one of the most recent releases.
oh, okay,
That looks pretty good.
okay,
So.
thank you.
Mhm.
Maybe there's got to be a place to put interesting notes. You can just start an email to me. Just write down everything. You can be the and take other people's ideas. Okay, so I can actually open up all of these, which is kind of fun. I can just say regex of dot and it. Okay, so I want to work on this Perl 6 bug. I have a timeout of 5 seconds because sometimes these parsers don't work so well and they just spin. So that's why it took so long. I think it was actually let's see. Yeah, the Perl 6 one failed, and I know why it failed. So let's go over and delete these comments. Okay, and now it works. So it just doesn't handle comments. I think it'll handle one comment. No, it doesn't handle any comments. Oh no, it's this blank line that actually, I bet, caused it to fail. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be interesting to mention what the line that starts with str up there, the plus str, what all that is.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I'll go to some of these other views. So this is Perl 6 JSON, and we'll come back and fix that. Maybe that'll be our, because I actually tried and got close. So maybe as a team we can do it. So this one right here, oh right, that's funny. Tina and I were playing around. This is her YAML parser, and we wanted to test that in real time. We could hack one of the frameworks, rebuild the editor in a couple seconds, and so she just had to put all these X's at the end of every scalar. But we didn't rebuild it with her clean code, so maybe we should do that. Why don't we do that?
Those are essentially parser events.
What's that?
They're essentially parser events, though, each of those.
That's right. So, and libyaml looks the same. So let's go. Yeah. So the way that YAML goes from characters to memory and back, you think it's just like one operation, and you go from, a text file to Perl, and you go from Perl to a text file. And that's true. That's the way the API works. It's load and dump. But conceptually, it goes through about 5 phases. So you read the stuff, and then you take text and turn it into Unicode code points. So that's the read operation. And then you scan it and turn it, or lex it, turn it into tokens. And then you feed the tokens to a parser that applies it against a grammar, and that fires off events. And so this is an event stream for a parser. And the YAML test suite has an event stream for every piece of YAML that it has. And so a parser can have a test mode where it actually outputs this serialization format and can see if it's parsing against the And so we have a lot of the YAML frameworks are doing that now. And so I can actually let's go over to cd. No, sorry. Source. The Perl tie-in to this is that it uses a proof against the test suite, so you'll see that. I actually had to write a parser and emitter that spoke the serialization, that little event serialization language. But you can see that it's passing. The proof doesn't show how many were skipped, does it? That's a shame, because I know it's not, it's skipping like, there's 160 tests, and I think it's skipping 30 or 40 just because the tests, it's not that libyaml was specifically wrong, it was that the tests were testing it just, I don't know. Anyway, sorry. Okay, so let's talk about the editor a little bit as a repo. So it's under GitHub, under the YAML organization. It's called YAML editor. But the whole thing is a Docker container. And if I say make here, it should only take about 10 seconds if I didn't change anything. Or maybe it'll pick up Tina's thing that I reverted and fix it for me. It's doing more than I thought it was going to do, but okay. Let's try it again with YAML editor -L. So we'll take Tina's as this PP one, and we'll do libyaml event. No, didn't fix it. Okay, so.
Did you mean to choose libyaml event or just the plain old libyaml YAML?
I probably meant libyaml event, but I just copied it.
Event, but copied
I just copied the wrong one.
Right,
So, yep. So let's go into Tina's repository here, YAML, PP. And oh, I know what it is. I need to touch, don't ask. And so there's right at the last minute we added the -C flag, which is just says recompile the editor. Sorry, before you use it. But that's actually useful. If you're in Tina's repo, we don't even have to leave Vim, and I can just say, open the editor with the code I just wrote here, save the file, open the editor, and recompile the editor before you open it. So, so if we take that command that we ran back here and say, let's see if the flag works at the end. Should. Yay. So just to kind of show you what I meant, let's go back into Tina's thing and Vim her. So we could be hacking on, she just decided to start writing a parser because she was working with the test suite, and she's gotten it a pretty decent parser so far, passes half the test suite, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, yeah, so basically I did this. I said, the make file that builds the whole thing uses the directory and not the file, so I touch the directory when I save this. So this is a Vim command. I don't know how many people code in Vim and then run their tests from within Vim. Like I never hit Control Z. I never leave the root directory in my repo. I'm just fixated. I open I'll say like vim dot open the directory and then go where I want and that kind of thing. So, but I do this all day long. And in fact, I actually have a hotkey that takes the last WA command and runs it. So this is going to say write all the buffers. There's only one buffer or one window at this point. But if I had several, you know, if I, several open. What does she have in here? Open her dist.ini file. Okay. So I could be here, and then I just hit my hotkey. And we haven't made any changes, so this. We spent the last 2 days actually taking. I want to talk a little bit about Docker. Who uses Docker at all? Okay. Do you know what Docker is? It's these tiny containers for building stuff. I tend to use Docker in a different way than most people. Most people use them for setting up cloud stuff and that kind of thing and having different, you know, your databases, different things running with Docker Compose and that kind of thing. I use them to make complex build systems encapsulated a lot of times. And in this case, I started going down this thing where I built this Docker container for the YAML editor. And anybody who's ever played with these things, once they get those Docker files get beyond a few lines, you don't ever want to change the stuff up at the top because every line that you change, every line after it has to be recompiled. So you almost want to just keep adding stuff at the bottom. But then, anyway, so I came up with a different system where I'll explain it pretty quickly. It's basically, I have 8 or 9 different languages, so I need runtimes to build stuff in those languages. And then the final thing for dynamic languages needs the runtimes and the compiled units. I didn't have to have, like, for instance, Haskell. I'm building this little tiny Haskell program that takes a massive thing to build. So if I put all that massive stuff in the container, the container was over 1 gigabyte. I didn't even, we can check what it is now. I didn't even look, but basically I used all these other containers and a make file to build stuff into a mounted build directory. And at the end, I just took this minimal YAML editor thing with just the runtimes and copied the build stuff into that and made sure all the paths were right, and then it just worked. So, and the make file does all the least amount of work. It's written the way a make file should work. So if you change a file and you run make, it does it. But if you don't, nothing happens. The only thing that you can't really get around is, that takes about 10 seconds, is each of the Docker has to go through the Docker thing to see if anything in the Docker file changed. And each one of those takes a couple of seconds, you know. So not really anything I can do about it. But other than that, it's great. I mean, to build from scratch takes over an hour. And now I can make little changes to one of the frameworks and it recompile in 10 or 15 seconds. So it was a big win. Hopefully it'll get better. But so we didn't make any changes there. It just works. But if we went, I won't get fancy or anything. I'll just we'll just die. Okay. And it dies. So, and I guess now we'll have to undo that die. So, I wonder if there's an easy way to revert. Actually, I wonder if the Docker file, it should know that it's already built to those specs in a way, right?
This layer, yeah, if it's already been built, it should just go immediately now.
I don't trust it, but let's see what happens. No, I need to look into that because that should be the case.
Yeah. Something else is getting touched, probably. Or
Exactly.
Changed timestamps or something somewhere.
Right. Just go in this one corner. Let me show you the YAML test suite really quickly. So,
Is this the one that came from the NIM person, or is this some other standard that you'd already worked on?
I started it, and the NIM person ran with it.
Okay, so this is.
So this is like, who uses TIG?
Well, I have used it before.
It's Git spelled backwards, and it's awesome. You can it's the best way to look at to rifle through a repository and see the code and that kind of thing. It's just, and it's full of options, really beautiful. But anyway, you can just see that Felix Krauss is the major contributor to this thing. So I started it, Felix ran with it, and now I've been running with it a little bit more lately. Let's see. So the tests all use this idea that I've had for a long time called, these are COG IDs, I call them. So they're like base 32 short IDs that are kind of meaningful, because Tina can say, hey, what's what with a S4JQ? And I'm like, I don't know, let's take a look. And then so as that's the top of a conversation for a while, you don't remember it all day or next week, but once you say it once or twice, S4JQ, then it's easy to, or I can just say it over the phone or over the speaker and you can type it in real quick, that kind of thing. So
how do you generate those? Maybe we can talk afterward, but I'm curious. I've always been interested in short IDs.
There we go. It's a one-line.
I think that was the way it started, though, wasn't it? Random.
There you go. The rest of the code is just making sure I haven't already used the thing.
And then
So.
walk through. Okay.
Yeah. Seems to work right. Anyway.
Maybe
So.
afterward.
Mm.
You schlep that over.
Yeah, I spend too much time thinking about these things. I'm like, because there's with base 32, what's 32 squared? It's 1,000,000, basically. It's like right. So is that right? No, 32. It's 1,000. Sorry. To the fourth is 1,000,000. Sorry.
24.
Right. Yeah, it's 1,000. So anyway, it's kind of cool. So like, if I just use base 32, I could get 1,000,000 out of 4, which isn't bad, compared to base 10. It's like, so you want to kind of get as many out of the space as you can, but you also want the space to not be like, I make sure that every ID has one number and one letter in it, and then there's a few letters that aren't used. There's a couple of different base 32 encodings. Do you know the Douglas Crockford JavaScript guy? There's something called base 32 Crockford, and normal base 32, the RFC standard uses 2 through 7, because you don't want 0 and 1 mixing up with I and O.
And the 8 might look like a B sometimes.
Right, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's right. The 8 looks like a B when it's capitalized. I mean, playing around with these, I misread because my eyes are getting better. You shouldn't worry about it too much. But and Crockford's is different. It's kind of cool because hexadecimal. In the other one they leave out some of the letters too. So if they're using, no wait, they must use all the letters because that's 26 plus 2 through 7 is 6 more, right?
Yeah.
So that's 32.
Yeah.
And Crockford's, he uses A through F so that all of the hexadecimal codes are also base 32. It's not a bad thing. The things he omits are I and O, and L, I think, and U, so to avoid swear words. He actually says that in his spec. So that's not bad. You avoid a few key swear words being generated. So. And then I think he's kind of lossy on how he reads it in. So if he reads in he's kind of forgiving. Like you can read in uppercase or lowercase, but you only output uppercase and that kind of thing. And I think you can read in a 0, 1, but so if it gets transcribed wrong, it still ends up being what the original intent was, right? So if somebody puts a 0 instead of an O, then I guess it's not an error. I don't know. It's cute. I didn't want 0 and 1 for other reasons, but then I realized that if you have to have one number in there and one letter, you get a bigger pool if you can use all of the numbers. If you figure out the permutations, you know. So I was like trying to. I think my thing has about 600,000 permutations instead of 1 million or something like that. So still good enough for a test suite.
Yeah.
And actually, and then you go to another. It's like once you run out of space, you can go to add a fifth.
Or,
and that kind of thing.
add a directory or something like.
Mhm.
Git
Right.
does.
Right. Uh-huh.
Go deeper.
Yeah, you really wouldn't. Even with 4. What did they say? The directories like 32,000 is like.
Yeah. Well, so the
I guess it
Linux
depends on the-
parent side. Yeah, it's compiled in, but it's typically. I've hit it before.
Oh, yeah?
Uh huh.
Mm.
I think it was 16K.
That's tiny.
Yeah.
No, it's not very big.
Well, that was back in the early 2000s. Maybe it's changed.
He's
But
talking about the number of files you can put in a directory and tricks people do to, like, I mean, if you look at a Git repository, right? Vim.git objects, you know, these are all the SHA-1s, but they put the first 2 as the directory.
Is it the number of files or the amount of text in the directory node?
It's the number of entries in the. So there's a structure called a dirent, directory entry,
Yeah.
and it can only hold. And there's a maximum number, and I think it was like max int or int or something at the time when I was playing with it. And so
Close to that.
yeah, I was making a version-controlled file system using Git, and
Yeah.
we were hitting it all the time. And that's when we came up with pretty much the same thing.
I'd like to see what you came up with, because I think about those things all the time.
This is so clever. You take just the first 2 characters because it totally spreads out your tree instead of making it so big. Yeah.
I don't know if it ever goes to, if a directory under here ever gets too big, but
Well, you can have what a maximum of. Those are.
well, 256, right? Mhm.
Yeah. FF. So
Right.
that's well below the limit.
Probably good enough for source code. Okay, so let's look at some of these. We'll look at the test suite. Now, they have a TML extension. I wrote a language called TestML, and these things are written in TestML. But let's take a look at. Let's just take a look at the first one here. I'll make it a little smaller. Okay, so in TestML, it's a data-driven it's a data format with and data-driven code testing. So it might be actually be kind of cool to look at a test that runs this. But so there's 4 files in here, basically, or 4 strings, but you can think of them as files too. So there's the input YAML, the canonical output YAML. So like a dumper would typically, like this has extra white space in it, and it puts this on a new line or whatever, but this is the canonical dump format of that. This is the JSON that it would load as. And then this is the event stream that we already saw before, right? So I'll explain the event stream a little bit. So let's go over here and I'm just going to run that thing again. Oh, it's because I keep touching the directory that I was redoing it. Well, no, maybe not. Forget that I said that. Actually, let's I'll just. I don't feel like typing that much. Okay. So anything that begins with a plus has a matching one that begins with a minus, like XML or something like that. And so SDR stands for stream. And so the biggest unit in YAML is a stream. So a YAML file is one stream, but you might have it coming over a second. It might be multiple streams. A document is like, let's look at a multi-document thing. So you can separate documents in YAML with a dash dash dash, and so you can say, so these are two completely separate documents. And so you see we have doc starts, and then the doc ends on line 7, and then the new one starts and ends on line 13. And let's actually make this a sequence. So say -42 minus. So this is going to be an array instead of a hash now, the second one. Okay.
So in JSON, the top one would be a little hashy kind of thing, and then on a separate line, an array kind of thing. Is that right?
That's right. Actually, let me show you a
It
cool.
doesn't really have a concept of multiple documents.
It does though.
It does?
In mine, and here it does, because I have to deal with it. So let's actually look at it. So I'm going to hit \G. Check this out. So if we say \H, it gives me this help. \8 will make it 80 wide. And \G is going to create a gist of all of the files that we're dealing with, so which is awesome. So now I could just share this on IRC or something, say, hey, look at this. You know, so,
Of course it does.
oh, there's the help. That's kind of useless, but yeah,
How do you do that so fast?
right. Which is great, because I want to actually copy this text again when I reopen the editor with a JSON file. So I don't really have any way to save that across sessions, but because, you know, it's a new editor. Still working out the kinks. But let's do YAML editor -L. We'll take one of these. Well, let's go with Perl 6 JSON. So we'll say lib YAML for events. Perl 6, it's a terrible parser though. We'll use this one. That one's a good one. We're going to fix it in a couple minutes, so the Perl 6 will be good. Yeah, so let's go ahead and we're going to grab that text that I saved, and they just... Yeah. So, actually, and there's... Do you know about JQ? Who uses JQ here?
I have that installed. I've used it for a long time. That's just the JSON parser, right?
Yeah.
For the command line? Yeah.
So if okay. It has this concept of doing multiple document stuff because it needs to, the way the language is set up. It's this manipulation language for JSON, but you can perform all these queries on it and restructure the data or get stuff out. It's really an amazingly flexible, little cute little command line language. I'll try to show it real quick. So when I leave this here, I forgot that it actually saves everything in this make temp directory. So I'm going to copy this, and then I'll say cat this the JS and pipe it to JQ. And I don't have JQ. It's unfortunate because I'm not on the Mac, am I?
That is unfortunate.
Oh, you know what? It's not that unfortunate, no, because check this out. Actually, it is kind of unfortunate. All right, we're going to get crazy here. So I haven't done any of this before. No tricks up my sleeve. We'll take the input.yaml file, and YAML editor has a -f flag that allows you to specify a file. So we'll use it from the last one. YAML editor -f, and then right, I wanted the JSON thing so that I could gist this. So check this out. So I'm going to do this. Hit enter. Hit \G. Get my gist. I'm going to go to the JSON part, hit the raw button. I'm going to get this big thing, copy that. I'm going to go over to my Mac where I do have JQ. right? Yeah. And I'm going to say curl this thing and pipe it into JQ. And it works. And it colors up your JSON kind of nicely now. I guess I've never used a thing where it had heterogeneous JSON blobs, so I don't think that's. It's basically saying it, it can't deal with that array, me wanting a key off of that array. So, but I bet if I said
Yeah,
something like that.
I went out the food.
Oh, I think this might be shell syntax.
Oh.
No, not quite. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. I took a whole day to learn this because it's worth it if you can learn this language. Actually, let me show you some stuff. So I wrote something called the hub command for Git, and it's completely amazing. So if you want to know a little bit more about, okay, so we're within this repo, so it gave me information about the repos thing. But if I went to my home here and I said the same command, it's the configured thing. That's Ingy.net. Some information about me. Let's see. What's your username, Scott?
On GitHub,
Yeah.
Scott W.
So there's Scott W. And just for fun, let's. Sorry, this is where I just go off the rails, which is fine. Because as long as it's interesting, you guys don't care, do you? You didn't come here to see anything. I didn't say what it's about, so.
Right. I've been telling people it'll be whatever he wants to talk about.
Oh, okay, great, thanks. He knows me well enough. So let's see what repos he has. Oh, that's too many repos. We'll take the first 5. Oh, those look really good, so let's star them. See what GitHub star. Oh, I'm sorry. See, my head is really out of. Okay. Okay. So if I add the raw flag, it will just give me the names of them. Then I can pipe them into the GitHub star command. With the minus flag, it'll read each. So. But I actually, while I made that mistake, I realized they weren't that cool, so I'm going to unstar them. But I'll make them cool by fixing them. But the first thing I have to do is clone them. So.
That's going to be a while.
All right. Well, let's work on the first 3. So, YAML tiny.
I just barely got that one.
This is probably a fork, or
It's a fork.
yeah. I wonder what happens if you.
The other ones are mine.
I'll make this one better so I can start. It's here, and then
That's terrible.
so let's see, git command.
Pull request accepted.
Oh, I'm not in the directory. CD to YAML tiny, git commit. This is just mine. Okay, and we can say. Now I can say GitHub fork this repo. Now I just forked it, and I can make a new PR. Should work. Oh, I have to push git push Ingy.net. Right, I had to push my change before I did the PR. And I won't actually make the PR because it's. But yeah, it says take the repo Ingy.net YAML branch devel and then ask that it be pulled into Scott W. branch devel. But if I don't give it any title, then it'll, just like rusticate, it'll go away. Anyway, that's kind of cool, but what I wanted to show you guys was, if we say GitHub user, who are we going to get? I guess it's me. And then say, if you say -o, it'll show you all the JSON that came back. And
What's the mnemonic for that? Is there one?
output?
Oh, output. Oh.
Yeah. So now I have that, and what happens if can I do that? On the Mac it gets weird. It's easy to do on Unix, but how do I pipe standard error after I've redirected standard out to devnull?
Do it first.
But how do I do it? What do you mean?
Oh, so to...
Oh, I see what you're saying.
That to redirect one to dupe your file first, yeah.
And then this will still send standard out to devnull?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. That'd be cool. Yeah, genius. And then we can pipe it to JQ and start writing programs against it. But I still don't really know how to do it. Let's see what plan does. Oh. So plan pulled out that thing, and then you can add. You can do incredible manipulation and querying just using this thing and piping stuff through JQ commands and stuff like that. So useful. Learn it. Let's go back here. Look at something real quick. So let me show you the libyaml test suite that actually, let me show you my new pet project. It's called YAML PegX. And I don't know if anybody, you've heard of PegX maybe? And you've heard of it. It's my parser project. And a lot of people have used it pretty successfully. One guy's building a whole company around it, Agent CH. I don't know if you've seen him. He's quite a prolific Perl hacker in the Bay Area. But it's all proprietary, so he said I had to sign an NDA if I wanted to see his language, I mean, he's a super cool dude, but I don't know, he just thinks that it has to be proprietary. I guess I'll trust him. So we didn't really show how bad the situation is between Perl stuff, between YAML. There's 4 popular YAML frameworks in Perl, and YAML XS is the best, but it's got bugs. They all have lots of bugs, and they're heavily incompatible. So the whole point of this is to try to make it really easy to get them back into, not easy, but doable to get them. So I have a lot of plans within plans, but one plan, and this module should replace YAML PM and YAML Tiny. I have control over YAML PM because I wrote it, and it will replace YAML PM. YAML Tiny, I just think that it will be faster, more complete, and tinier than YAML Tiny. So if they don't want it, I wouldn't see the point. And I'll show you the YAML PegX grammar. So this is PegX, and the first page is. So who knows about peg parsing or top-down recursive descent grammars? You've seen those, right? So I mean, basically what you're saying is your top-level rule is a YAML stream, and a YAML stream consists of the stream starting, possibly ignore some lines, 0 to n YAML documents, and a stream end. So that's the definition of the language at the top-level rule, and then each of these gets down to a leaf node to where they actually match against characters. And in PegX, I took the concept of, it's just actually inspired by Perl 6 rules, which the whole Perl 6 language is built around a grammar that's, it's really pretty cool. And I wanted to offer that to other languages. So I'm like, what does every language have in common. Regexes, right? So almost every language has a regex. If it doesn't have it, why would you program in it? So PEGX takes the concept of regular expressions, and actually the syntax that you're looking at compiles into a big data structure that I dumped out in YAML, but it's basically these huge regexes. And that grammar is not very big, and neither is this. We're at 345 lines. So, and this thing is passing 81 tests out of the test suite. There's 160, and Dave and I got 2 of them to pass last night. So there was 79 last night. Let's look at the test program, because this is using TestML. These are some of the ones that I decided I might want to take on next. The bottom part is this is a TextML program, and the programs in TextML are really short. It's saying take every test case and look for a data section called in YAML, run it through a method called parse, which I define in line right here, and see if it matches the data block for test event. So if you find a data block or a data test case, I call them blocks of those things that we're looking at, and it doesn't have both the in YAML and the test event, it's not an error, it'll just skip that one. So you can actually have a big thing of data that doesn't have the same data points all within it, like maybe some tests are for errors, some tests are for where you want to match JSON. And so this thing's just saying take all the tests that have both the in YAML and a test event section, which at this point they all do, but soon they won't because there'll be error testing and that kind of thing, and run the YAML through the parse, and does it match? And so I'm going to make this a little smaller so I can. So this is PEGX YAML, and this is actually this bottom stuff is just doctoring up. Like in the test suite, I decided everything had a beginning stream marker and an end stream marker, and I probably shouldn't even have done this, but I said, okay, if you don't have, just leave them out unless it's an empty stream, and then leave them both in, because then that would be the only 2 events. But so you can kind of fold up this code. And it's basically create a new PEGX parser using the grammar. So that grammar that I showed you that was written in the PEGX syntax, which is of my own invention, it actually compiles to a piece of Perl, a Perl class that looks like this. Now usually these classes don't have any code in them. It turns out indentation needs rules that are actually written in code. PEGX can't. It's just, you have to keep a stack and that kind of thing. But usually what they look like is this. It's just a big data structure. And it looks like that YAML that I was just showing you. In fact, it's the same data. So, but once it's compiled to Perl, it has a very quick startup time. So actually, if you look at the test suite, I thought it was pretty amazing. Let's time it. It's like about, on this machine, I think it's about 0.2 seconds. Let's try it one more time. Best of 3. Yeah, I'm getting closer to. So, and that's actually, TestML itself is written in PEGX. So I'm actually parsing the TestML program, running it through the TestML runtime, which is handwritten in Perl or whatever, and then so just the parser itself is probably a lot faster than what the test framework is showing. So I'm happy with the speed so far. I think it's going to blow away the pure Perl solutions, but I don't know because it's only half complete or less than half complete, so maybe it'll get slow. I don't know.
But this, what we're seeing right here is the your PEGX parser parsing YAML.
That's right.
That's pretty good.
And if we were to, what was it? There's, sorry.
Does PEGX always target Perl?
Oh yeah, so that's the beautiful thing of, no, it's written in, it's any language that has regexes, it can be ported to. And PEGX parser is only 250 lines of Perl, so that's about all you have to port to the other languages. So you can have a grammar, that grammar, once it works, I can port it, I can easily take it over to all the other languages.
Nice.
So that's the dream.
So your YAML parser would work, the same grammar that you use for the YAML parser
Right.
would work across all the languages.
Yeah, and then you find a bug in one language and you fix it in all of them, right? So that's the,
Is there, I assume there's some validation for PEGX itself. Like if I wanted to port it to, some other language,
oh, a PEGX test suite?
yeah, something like that, to ensure that it does generate exactly the same
Right, well,
thing that
the,
would parse the same thing. You know what I mean?
the PEGX test suite is written in TestML, which is a little bit of a mindfuck, right? But yeah, there was some interesting bootstrapping stuff going on. There's
So
actually,
once you can get the test
there's-
suite to run, it's working.
there's something called PEGX compiler Lite, I think, that or TestML compiler. I don't know. Yeah, it's a mind screw.
It kind of fits the whole notion of YAML standing for YAML 8 markup, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to run with this flag, and then let's time this. It should. I think. Where does time have to go? Here.
Yep.
Okay. Takes longer because that's actually recompiling the grammar for every test. But what that means is we can go ahead and make changes to the grammar in real time. So we can say. Do we really need to ignore lines here? Doesn't seem that important. So this test blows up on it. So yeah, actually, well, now that we're in here, let's not waste any time. Let's go. Let's do what we did last night, and we'll just show how we would go around about looking at one of the test cases that's failing and getting. I can't guarantee we'll fix it. In fact, we probably won't. But I can show you a little bit about the PEGX debugging, and it's pretty cool.
You might want to put that skip lines back in there.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
That's a dangerous shortcut.
Not right. Yeah, maybe a little bit.
I know.
It's a live demo, man. You gotta. If you start outthinking yourself, you're screwed. Just gotta go with it. My machine's never caught on fire during a live demo, but that's about it. So let's start in the test program because I know I actually put everything I need in here. So I know I'm going to want to run this vim command, so I'm going to copy it and hit enter. Okay, and so this one is actually passing. Let's look at the output. And Tina she really likes colors. She actually can't read stuff without colors. So she's but she's great she has probably hundreds of PRs she's given me. And she's just like, hey, I made a color PR for PEGX. I'm like, awesome. I mean, I don't care. It doesn't, but it looks cool. It gives a demo. Yeah, so this is a pretty short and simple one. Let's actually look at the test that we're doing. This is 27NA. Yeah. Okay, so it's just a one-liner. It's just saying. Now, the reason there's a backslash in front of this is because, and actually let me show you real quick. Do I have a data directory? No. Wait. No. So what I did was I actually take all of that test.ml and split it out into directories and files. So if you look under the data directory that I just generated here, and we'll look under 27NA. So the equals file is just the title, and then we have the two files that we need for. So basically, all that test.ml, just the data gets written out to. And let's actually cat out. What was it? Let's cat this. So you see there's no backslash in the beginning of that. And that's because the backslash, the percent means something. It's syntax for test.ml. So test.ml has, there's a few lines in test.ml that in the data section that you actually have to put a backslash in to make sure. It's blank lines that actually have spaces in them, and comments, and things that begin with a percent. Those three things need to be. So let's go back to where we were. CD minus. Yeah. Okay, so now that we have one that works, let's try. Come on. Unicode and other escapes. That might be doable. Let's see what it looks like. Sometimes the titles are misleading because it'll have some other thing that I don't quite deal with yet. Just, sorry. Yeah, I can totally parse this. Let's go for it. Okay. I mean, there's nothing weird in here. There's no indentation or like weird. I mean, some of the harder parts I haven't done are like actually the space or dash space type of stuff. I haven't handled that yet. So now I'll just change my test here to be, what was it, G4RS? Okay. And if we go to the bottom, okay, so we expected a smiley face, but we got \U 263A. And actually, you guys are going to be able to help me here. Oh, yeah. So we only have 3 lines difference, right? We didn't.
Yeah, good.
So to define.
So when we get a single quoted string, let's look at the data again. Okay, well let's handle the single quoted string. Output wants to escape the backslashes thing. So the code in here will be in, I think it's in receiver.pm. Or, yeah. Let's look up single. There we go.
Is something catching up first before the
This class is subclassed. I'm gonna by the test receiver. And so the test receiver wants to, the output that we're expecting, in YAML, with double quoted strings, you use backslashes to escape things, but in single quoted, you only have to escape single quotes themselves, so you use 2 single quotes, and that allows you to not have to escape a backslash. But in the test output, everything has, the test output has backslashes. So we actually have to, the thing that we're testing this with, we actually have to produce the test output rather than the other thing. Anyway, all this is to say that I think if I copy this method up to its subclass, this is going to be a bad job, but I can fix it later. Let's see. So we'll change backslashes to double backslashes, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Looks right. And let's run it. And now we only have a 2-line difference. That's good, right? This one looks easy. 0x0d. It's that smiley face that I'm worried about. So somebody dig out their Perl book and find out how to turn 263a into a Unicode smiley face.
So you ask printf view it.
All right, well, you can, actually, this is great. I'm going to let you write the code, Scott.
You gotta put my potato chips down.
Yeah, I have a sec. I still have to fix one more test, and then I'll call you in for the heavy hitting. So let's look at that one more time. This is a double quoted string, and backslash. I'm going to do the same thing, and then I'll review this later to see if. I'm not going to try to outthink this. So 0d is a R, right? And 0a is an N. All right, one more line. This is Scott's big. This is where we pull in Scott. Interestingly enough, can I do this on Astra? Let me think about this. Yes. Who uses teammate? You guys should be writing all these down because they're all awesome tools. All right, so check this out. Who's heard of Tmux? All right, so if you know Tmux, you got to use teammate. Teammate, watch what happens. So I'm on this Berlin machine, Tina's machine here. I type in teammate. I'm going to somehow share this with Scott. I might have to email it to him. This is SSH command.
I can open up a netcat back there.
I don't even know what that means, but let's see. Oh,
Just send it to me on Signal. He's on Signal too.
oh, okay, great. Who uses Signal?
Oh, I don't have the OS 10 version.
It's a. It was.
Do you have Signal on your laptop? Scott?
No, just on my
Okay,
phone.
Okay, I'll email it to you. Pretty sure I have your email address. Wait, where is that? Okay. Are you in there?
Try W. Yep, there we go.
Awesome. Let me know when you're in.
I'm kind of wondering if you just need to run one of those encode or decode commands on a string. Get the \u, get treated as a smiley face.
Beats me, man. It's too much Perl from
Those
you.
Unicode things. Every
Right.
time I do it, I have to beat my head because I think of it backwards of the way it runs.
You get Moji Bake.
What?
And you get Moji Bake.
I think it's Mojibaki, which means we've done a verbal Mojibaki by calling him. Great. Okay. Woo. So you might want to make it a little wider. You might not. There you go. That's good. So we'll bring up the test. Good. So that's still there. So we want to turn to 3A into a smiley face.
So
I'm going to just try it one more time. Yeah, that's in a double quoted string, so we can just do it right in. Yeah, you drive. We're in Vim.
Oh, right there.
what does it need to be an Emacs for that?
I can go up and down and left and right on the arrow. Oh, so the problem is in center? Or what?
No, I'm sorry. It's in you just need to, got has the string in double quoted scalar. So you just need to add a line after 58 there, I would.
Oh, right here.
Mm-hmm.
So I have got, oops. I'm looking at the pack
Okay.
page here. And I see that pack has a, let's see, there it is, unicoded string. So if we, unicoded character number, that's probably the one we want. Encodes a unit to a character in character mode, and you get a byte.
Does it have to be a number or can it be a hex number? Because I think we're going to.
If you change the \u to \x and then curly braces around the number,
Oh,
then you've got it.
Well, Dave, you can teammate in too.
yeah. So tell me again. Or,
Just change the, so using substitution, change your \u
To
to,
\x.
yeah, to a \x and then \curly brace because you need to actually match a curly, or,
oh, do I need to match?
no, I'm sorry, not match, you need to substitute, you're right. Substitute the u and then capture the,
Just say ... for now.
yeah, capture what comes after.
Oh,
and then slash,
4 dots.
4 dots?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's always 4.
and then slash, and now it's going to be \x brace $1, close brace, essentially.
G.
Slash G.
All right. And then I'll run the tests. Let's see.
I didn't save that.
The test saved it. So it changed it to something. It's not a smiley face though.
Can I try something?
Do you want to?
I just,
We could encode the string.
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
It's been a while since I've done this.
Oh, you need to eval it, that's why, put an EG. You don't want that running around on the parser, so.
Oh, you think it's just, you just put an E at the end and it'll work?
Probably.
Let's try putting an E at the
I
end.
could be wrong, but.
Okay. So I'll run the tests. Can't locate object method X. So that's not code, really. Okay.
Oh, yeah, because it would need to be in quotes.
Oh, do you want to put it in quotes?
Yeah.
Let's put it in quotes then. Do the same thing.
Put it in double quotes.
Put double quotes around the whole
And then make it
second
an
part.
E.
Yeah.
Right here?
Yep.
Might not even need an E, but we can start with that and then take it away and see if it's still.
Okay. No, but that's the same thing, but let's take away the E, because we didn't have the E the first time.
We're still not getting there. Oh well, sorry.
All right.
Good idea.
You guys keep driving. I'm going to Google. Oops. Perl.
Which one? What number is the Unicode?
263A.
This looks useful. Oh, look at that. Doesn't that look right about what we're trying to do?
Huh?
Can I give it a whirl?
You bring that back up.
Oh, yeah, you can do it, sure. Wait, oh, I see what you're doing. Yeah. Yep, type it in.
Let's try it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, wait a second. Here's the weird thing. Look at the order. So yeah.
Did it flip them around
Well,
before
it
the
needs
smiley
to be-
face is in the top?
the diff is getting confused, and
It
it's
needs to be encoded.
yeah. We have to encode this thing as. I agree. So how do we encode got to UTF-8?
I think you can just type UTF-8 around the car.
Do we?
It's been a while.
Well, use encode. and
Encode
then-
UTF-8 or whatever.
Yeah.
Use UTF-8 just for UTF-8 in your input stream, right? In your Perl.
Yeah, you don't need that.
We need to say use encode and
We should go through Tom Christiansen's document before.
you're never going to remember this. Tom Christian is.
If you use UTF-8, or you can use encode double colon UTF-8 around the car, I think. And that will specifically say, hey, throw the strings UTF-8.
Wait, you want to drive it? Why don't you drive it? Go ahead and drive Scott's computer. Once you have an idea.
Sorry. It's been many years since I've been to use.
I still think ASCII was good enough.
Can't remember it's
It's
encode or
encode.
encoding.
I think,
Encode?
You don't need to use UTF-8.
Yeah, I don't think you do either.
Can we dump what the string looks like at that point, what we actually have
But I
and
think
got?
there's like this.
Before and after.
It's hard.
Dump it with what?
With XXX.
Then you're just passing it to more layers of cruft.
Okay.
You know, when you're dealing with Unicode, yeah. The only thing I ever trust is hex dump.
Yeah.
I want to, that's the only thing.
So I just want to see if
Can you
we're
try it
using
now?
the.
What? Yeah, try it now.
Yeah,
I can try it, sure.
I'd like to get the profile out to try what you were trying earlier. Yeah, okay, I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see what it's saying.
Yeah, there's no,
I think the function is called encode underscore UTF-8.
I think you're right.
Underscore UTF-8.
And then you can either import it or fully qualify.
Use UTF-8 is only,
Lowercase.
or the use UTF-8 up there isn't useful.
Yeah, so, no, you had it right,
Oh, yeah. If you're not
but also put in, yeah, I think you need, just put encode double colon in front of it.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think that might work. And then, I'm gonna get rid of this line. I think we need that.
Hey.
There.
Genius is in the house.
I want to see if the hex thing is needed. If you can just do this.
I don't think so. Hmm.
I don't think that'll work, but you're telling it to encode
Just to encode it.
a 4-digit.
Well,
Yeah, you're basically telling it to encode something that's already an ASCII string.
Yeah, that's just gonna show the numbers, because that's what's in $1, right? Okay, why not? That was cute.
oh well. Here's the other one there.
Yeah,
Work.
okay, so,
Oh, I'll let you do that. What I always got confused of when I was using the encode and decode is when something's already UTF-8, you call encode. Now I've always thought it should be the other way around.
it doesn't matter if you go to, I mean, if you go to Tom Christensen's thing, you'll learn something, but you'll just get confused later anyway, so you're always gonna have to have this terrible fight with Unicode. There's just no way around it. And if you get that into Unicode, you're like, all your other skills are gonna be useless. You won't be, you know, it's just like terrible. So now let's just see,
Fortunately, the number of times I read that. Even if that is small.
it didn't like one of our tests. So we broke one. Oh well. So, Dave and I will figure it out when we get home. See if there's anything more I want to tell you guys.
So am I understanding it right, for $500 you get your
Are you
hotspot,
looking at that right now?
Yeah.
you can do anything?
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
$500 a year,
yeah.
500 the first
and
year.
it's wherever you go.
So I carry, well, so I want to show you, I'll show you my phone data usage. My AT&T bill started a week before I got this. And then now I just carry this with me and my phone with me everywhere I go. And so
You have to, yeah. Oh, hey.
there's my data usage graph. It was like
Wow.
shooting up and now it's
No, I
just,
couldn't
it's true.
see it from here.
It's still not
You know.
encoded, but now it's
But that just means anywhere
It's
there's Sprint,
small.
you're connected.
Right, and I get data from that into my phone now. So, I mean, my phone doesn't really use any data. So,
How long does it last on a charge?
about
There's a.
10 hours. So not bad. Just like a
Something you have to do so you can get the-
Calyx Institute, yeah.
UTF-8.
Plus Cory Doctorow likes it,
It's
so
on one of those
how could it be bad?
pages that somebody brought up. The one that showed the hex and,
Which one?
you know, there's one of them that was up there, that
Oh.
brought up the one, how to handle, the one that brought up the hex and the ASCII.
All right, so let's review. We've gone over
So,
some YAML things, some Docker things, a Calyx hotspot. We learned about JQ, write that one down. We learned about Teammate. We learned about
All right, TIG.
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 Yeah, you can't.
Did
There
you
you
say
go, that's much
GitHub
easier
yet?
as well.
Yeah, we use. Oh yeah, use my GitHub
Yeah.
tool.
Yeah.
Git-hub. There's another Git tool called Hub, so don't get confused with that piece of junk. Oh yeah, let's play with a little Perl 6. Nobody does any Perl 6, right? But
You apparently like it.
no, I hate it. I hate all programming. But
Did you hate it less than you hate other languages?
And we found a pack version that works.
really,
Yeah.
awesome. All right, so yeah.
Oh, you want-
Just dump it in there, and then I'll play around with that later. Cool.
And you still had to call and code on it.
Okay.
Well,
At least, well, in your
printing
role,
it I did,
yeah.
but I think in this, if you have your bin mode set to UTF-8, it will
You're
work
fine.
fine.
What Perl version are you running on? Because that would be pretty particular stuff.
I'm on 24 now.
Him.
I think he calls it YAML-ish.
Are you running 24 now?
I am.
I loaded it up in Program and compiled for me. I was Sierra, there was a Sierra one, that's the problem. There we go. Did you get it before you got Sierra installed?
I've been using it for, let's see.
All right, guys. Unicode is dead, man. Perl 6 is the new way.
Let's see what happens. What's wrong with Unicode?
Let me
Do you have Sierra in there now? If it works. Never felt weird about it, I'll upgrade the Perl.
Yeah.
darn it.
Okay. This is Sierra came with the Xcode, which I assume you've got Xcode on there. Hopefully they fixed it. I started working for him. The most recent version I get working on my Mac was a 522.
Is that Nick's problem?
Yeah, it was a Mac problem, yeah. Though, we're running like 512 in other places.
I thought we were 16.
I know someone running 589.
Hey, spoke with the company last summer, and he said, listen, and we were running 5.8. I told him, thank you.
What's
All right.
wrong?
Here's the problem. The Perl 6 grammar doesn't handle those comments. We saw this before.
Oh, yeah.
It just barfs.
Is it the, wait, is the comments or the blank line?
Well, I think it's both is the problem. So I think we determined that
If
we
you-
can handle one comment in front and nothing else. Oops. Yeah, so we can do that. Let's see, blank line. We're screwed.
What if you do, did you try comment after?
Let's play blank line after. Let's try a comment after. Those messages are getting pretty. So let's look at some beautiful Perl 6 code. It is actually pretty beautiful. So this was the inspiration for PEGX, and you know it's you can see it's similar, right? You start with it's a recursive descent grammar. So in Perl 6, I mean, I don't speak as an expert or whatever, but this is Perl 6 code. This is the whole parser is written in this file. So here are there's methods down at the bottom. I don't know what to do. But I want to try to just fix something in the grammar. So if we look at it here, let's look at what
use UTF-8 and the backslash U in the same character. Works with the standard output, the bin mode on there, UTF-8. It works just as long as you put the use UTF-8 in there, it's going to know to look for the UTF-8 characters. I'm wondering if we might just need to find the source file that had that backslash U.
So I think what we're parsing is a simple document,
UTF-8 in that.
and so I'm just looking for
Rather
any
than
number of
using
comment lines in front of it. I mean, this is not a well refactored grammar, but maybe we can get it to be a little bit better. So let's run that again, but we'll use the -c flag to recompile the editor. Oh, it's recompiled pegx. Okay. So I don't think we did anything about this stuff after, but let's try that. Hey, it worked. We couldn't do that before, right? So let's see if we can do comments after it. Okay, no, we can't now, but okay, so let's gist this so I have it around for next time. Okay. So I just put this comment token in front of the simple document. So I'll just put it afterwards and maybe it'll work.
Or is the simple document itself accept?
Oh, I'm sure it could be. I have to understand the whole grammar and see, and I'm sure there's a way more better way to do this, but we're just trying to do this like proof of concept. So we'll. The bummer about this is that the sample document, I just want to hit, so that didn't work. Let's see if this part still works. It does. But this doesn't. All right, well, we've done a little Perl 6 tonight. I'm going to show you one last thing. This is called, well, all right, so has anybody ever looked at the YAML spec in all of its enormity?
No.
It's like this is the YAML spec. It just goes on for days. It's insane. Everybody hates it. Anybody's ever had to like deal with it. But anyway, I hate it too. So the guy who wrote most of the spec, who definitely wrote all the productions, is Oren, and he was into Haskell, and so he wrote. Supposedly the spec produces his Haskell, which produces a reference parser, and he has this really crappy website called ypaste. YAML.org. Yeah, it's this thing. It wasn't really that useful, but I dug down and I found out what drove it, and then I put it into the editor and I made it useful. So this parser is different than most YAML parsers in that it accounts for every single character in the thing, whether it's white space, whether it's indentation. It all gets reported into the output stream. So on things that are very where you're not sure what happened, this is a really good tool to dig down and see what exactly. It produces a ton of output for a file, so as we'll see. So let's just use the YAML editor -L. Right. So even for that little tiny thing, because it parsed the comments too, right? It didn't just throw them out. It had to parse everything. So this gives the line, the column, the character, and the byte, which in this ASCII case, the characters and the bytes always match. But if it was Unicode, the characters and the bytes would actually be different. And then he outputted a single letter for each thing. I use some Perl to redo his format into a more understandable format. Similar to the event stream, it has plus and minus doc, plus and minus node. So even on the very first character line 1, column 0, you're starting a document, a node, a map, which is a hash, a pair, the key, which is the first node, and then finally you get to the value, which is the string, and the value could actually be multi-line, but in this case it's just one line foo, and then we close off the val and the node, and then we have a syntax character, colon, so a white space character after that, and then we start the next node, which is the bar part, close off the node, deal with the trailing new line, deal with this next blank line, and then we start parsing the comments and stuff like that. Anyway, so that's it's pretty interesting if you really want to. And supposedly, it's 100% true to the spec, but I've already found bugs in it, so he's a total liar. This whole thing is a giant mess. But by codifying all these tests, we can start making, like we've already. Let me think of something that's. Here's an interesting thing. Let's look in. We'll look at the libyaml event stream. And let's look at the XS parser. So the Perl YAML XS parser. Okay. So what does this do? Well, actually, all of this, I'm going to add one more to the mix. In fact, I'll put these on 2 lines with my new. Whoops, what happened? And then I want that nim event. Yes. Okay. So I always thought that you could do this in YAML. You could just specify a scalar like that, and you could do multiple ones. And this is true. You can do that. Let's see what happens. So that parses, and you get 2 string documents. And then if you're going to do a mapping, you would put it on the next line. But Felix from Germany, who wrote the nim parser, he's like, well, that's not what the spec says. The spec actually says that you can put these on the same line. So if we do that, this works. He says that this works. And if you look at his nim output, it actually does work. Now, interestingly enough, so this must be the second line. He says that actually, according to the spec, and he didn't code it this way, that the indentation is actually 1 because of this space in between the two. So this is like kind of an ugliness in the spec, and that it would have to be this.
Interesting.
Which is total BS. Like none of this should exist. So look at libyaml, and Perl YAML XS is based off of libyaml, so they both error because they're like, that's nonsense. That's not what. So libyaml actually doesn't do exactly what the spec says. It actually does it better than the spec because it's like. So
We need a version 1.3.
yes. So, and that's, I was going to actually mention that I'm working on a version 1.3 that's the spirit of it, is there'll be actually no language changes, but now that we're finding all these inconsistencies, we're going to actually eliminate the inconsistencies. The main point of 1.3 was to tell people there's certain things like there's this type repository in YAML where people said that the unquoted word yes is actually a true value, and on is a true value, and off is false, and so some people picked up on that, some people didn't. At some point we totally changed our mind and only said only the words true and false should turn into true and false, but we never took those documents offline, so the word never gets, it's just all kinds of problems. Anyway, it's interesting. So I think that's 2 hours is good. Is anybody, any questions or anything?
This is awesome.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.